Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna have a review for A Time of Dread by Gwynne. And I've read this a couple of months ago, but I decided to have a review anyway because I'm reading, actually I just finished reading book 2 in the series, and I thought it would be nice to have a review for book 1 as well, because I liked it and I love Gwynne, so yeah, why not? So this is book 1 in the Blood and Bone series. I always forget the name, and it is a sequel to the first series, which is Faithful and the Fallen. So this is the first book in the series, and so I will keep it spoiler free, so that if you haven't read Faithful and the Fallen, you should be okay. But honestly, if you haven't read this, you should read it because this series is really, really good. But let's talk about the sequel. So this the story here is about Kadashim versus Ben Elim. Kadashim are what we could call demons, while the Ben Elim are more like angels. So it's like demons versus angels, and that is just something that I really loved from book 1. From the first series, Faithful and the Fallen. And I remember reading the first book, Malice. It really reminded me of Paradise Lost, and I don't even know why, I don't remember right now, but I know I was studying Paradise Lost in high school or university, and I just loved it. So when I felt that familiarity, it just really caught my attention. But of course, it's not the same, and it's not really angels and demons, it's a bit more than that. So of course the Kadashim are the bad guys, and they're trying to destroy, conquer this place called the Banished Lands, and the Ben Elim are trying to stop them together with some humans, because everyone hates the Kadashim. And we have 4 main characters in this book, so it's multiple POVs, but not too many, only 4. I hope it's not more, so you don't get confused between them. So I will talk about each of them. Okay, so the first character I want to talk about is Viv. Viv is a human, part of the White Wings, which is basically like an army trained by the Ben Elim to fight the Kadashim. And these White Wings, they basically believe in the Ben Elim. They believe in everything they say and do. And I thought Viv's POV was quite interesting, because throughout her POV, we keep asking ourselves the question, are the Ben Elim really good just because they're fighting against the bad guys? And it's just interesting because when we start reading her POV, she's basically like brainwashed, because she believes in them. And not really brainwashed, but she grew up with them and she just believes them. But then stuff happens and there are some questions, and I just thought it was really, really interesting. And together with Viv, we have Bleda, I hope. And Bleda, I don't want to say too much because he has a lot of spoilers, his POV, but especially regarding the question about the Ben Elim. But he's the first POV we get to see. So at first I thought he would be the main character, but he's really not. And to be honest, I didn't really care about him much. His POV was not even that frequent, like he was never there, so he didn't feel very important, like a main character. So next one is my favorite, and pronounced in my Italian version, Dram. So Dram is another human, and he lives with his father in this place called the Desolation, which is basically there's nothing there except monsters and beasts, and he's he's my favorite because I mean he is the main character, at least in my opinion. Like he has that main character vibe. He's brave and loyal, and he can fight, but he's also very sweet, and he can be really innocent sometimes. And I just love his POV, especially in book two, because I finished it right now. I'm not going to talk about it, but he's just the best. So definitely my favorite. The last one is Sig. Sig is Sig is a giant, and she's part of the warriors of the Bright Star, the Bright Star warriors. I forgot the name, but this is the POV where we get to see some elements from Faithful and the Fallen. So these two series are different. This is a sequel, but it's set like 100 years after this one, so the characters are different and the story is also different. But with Sig, we do get to see some characters from the previous series because they have really long lives, and we also get to see like the great grandchildren of like the main characters in this series. So it felt very familiar, and at first I mean when I started reading this series, I expected it to be a sequel. So I knew there wouldn't be the same characters, but I expected like a similar storyline, similar characters. So when I read they were the great grandchildren, I just wanted them to be the main characters. I wanted it to be about them because I really love the characters from Faithful and the Fallen. So I wanted them to be the main characters. So I think when I started this one, I was a little bit disappointed because I just wanted to see them, the familiar characters. But I changed my mind, and I'm glad Gwynne didn't make them the main characters because I mean this series has a different story. The events that happened at the end of Faithful and the Fallen are like the beginning of a new story. So we don't have the Bright Star and the Black Sun anymore. It's different, and I think if those characters, the great grandchildren, were the main characters, I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it as much because I would be disappointed because I would expect a similar storyline. But with a different storyline, you also need different characters. So I'm glad they're not the main characters. And yeah, I mean, Sig was a great POV, like epic POV, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy reading about those characters. It just felt really nice. But yeah, this story is different. I think while Faithful and the Fallen was really bad guys versus good guys, it was really clear the distinction. This second series is a bit more gray. We still have the Kadeshim, and there's still the bad guys who want to do terrible things, and we know that, and it's clear. But we also have the Ben Elim, and as I said before, we are asked, are they really good just because they're fighting against the Kadeshim? Or is it a bit different? Is there something more? I think this second series is more about what makes you evil. And I don't know. I don't know if that's what the author wanted to do, but that's how I read it. And especially book 2, and I will talk about that. And I really liked it. I just, I love Faithful and the Fallen, but I think this series goes a little bit deeper, and I really appreciate that. I really like it. So I talked too much already, so I'm just going to end here, just saying that this story is really good, and I love the writing. I love how Gwynne writes. I've talked about this before, but I mean, his characters are great, his storyline is good, and his world building is really, really good. And as I said before, sometimes when I read fantasy, I'm into the story, I'm like there with the characters, and then you get a description of something and you like get pulled out of the book, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm reading a book, this is a description. But with Gwynne, it just feels so smooth, like it's part of the story, so that doesn't happen. And I think that's really awesome. Like, I cannot write like that. I wish I could. So yeah, if you haven't read this series, you should read it right now. But you should read Faithful and the Fallen first, because it's awesome, it's really, really good, and Gwynne is a great author, one of my favorite authors. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.